is intended to teach you is to draw with basic shapes. And you can see that we were going to draw in this work area, but step by step is shown what you need to do. So you start with creating a circle, then you create an ellipse, then you create another ellipse, then you create the ears and flip them or reflect them to the other side, and etc., etc. So what I suggest you do is that you zoom really closely onto this area, and then you work with me on making this tiger. First, what I want you to do is, you see that you have a fill and a stroke. I would like you to click on the fill and hit this none option so that we don't have the fill. It's really better to just have the stroke so that there is nothing in the way. Then you need to go and dig out the ellipse tool. And the way the ellipse works is that when you click and drag, it starts growing from this top left point. In our case, though, what we need is a perfect circle, and we want it to grow from the center, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag, and then I'm going to hold Option that allows me to grow my shape from where I clicked, and then I'm going to hold Shift that allows it to constrain the ratio of height and width so that it's a perfect circle. So again, just quickly, how did I do it is I chose the ellipse, I clicked and dragged, then I hold Option that allowed me to kind of grow the shape from where I clicked, and then hold the Shift key to create a perfect circle. The second part that is down here is just a simple ellipse. So again, you could start it from the center and hold Option and not use the Shift key because this is an ellipse, and just kind of eyeball it, knowing that you can obviously tweak it a little bit after you made it. With the arrow key, you can move it up. You can kind of, with the bounding box here, you can click and drag to get it a little bit bigger so that it kind of matches more or less that shape that is the guide for you. And again, this is not a super precise drawing, it's more just trying to draw together something fun. Third ellipse, that's pretty simple, or I know this is a circle, but you know what I mean. The ears. The ears, I give you a clue down here about the fact that you have to use a 22 triangle radius. What does this mean? How do I make a triangle in Illustrator? Now, you can use the polygon tool, right? Because a triangle, after all, is a polygon. Now, if you go with the polygon tool and you click and drag, it will make an hexagon by default. I do not need an hexagon, so how do I make it do a triangle? Instead of clicking and dragging after I chose my polygon, I click on the canvas right here, and it allows me to specify how many sides I want and what's the radius that is inscribed inside in this case, equilateral triangle. So if you think about a triangle with 3 sides that are equal in length, and you can make a circle inside, the circle would have the radius of 22, as I wrote down here, right? So you want to specify radius 22, sides 3. How did you get into this box? You selected your polygon and you clicked on your canvas. And then you can control these specifications for your shape. When you say OK, you obtain this triangle. And you remember that little fellow that we played with last time, this little loop that shows you a rounded corner when you mouse over it? That allows you to actually create, you know, the rounded, and I'm going to actually round it just maybe 5 points. You see that it shows you how much you're rounding it. I think 5 points is fine. So now, if I move it, oops, sorry. I forgot to switch to V, that is the black arrow. If I move it up here, I need to still rotate it. So I'm going to go with my bounding box on the corner where I see this round thing, and I'm going to hold the Shift key, because the Shift key will constrain my rotation to 45 degrees. So there we are. So now the next step is to reflect it on this side. And this is the only, I think, kind of tricky part of this assignment. You need to go where you see the rotate tool. Hold on to that rotate tool and you'll see that there is a reflect tool right there. Once you have the reflect tool, you'll see that there is a little target area right here. You see that little symbol? That's actually the pivot of your transformation. So in this case, we need to move it to the center of the head of the tiger because we want to reflect. This is the axis of the reflection. Then I'm going to click outside of my triangle and drag, and then hold Option that will make a copy, and I hold the Shift that will allows me to reflect exactly to the other side. Remember, you want to release the mouse first and the keys last, or it's going to kind of be a problem. Let me redo it. I'm going to hit 0 and 0 and even this. So once you created your triangle and you rotate it and put it in place, you go under the rotate and find the reflect tool, grab the pivot and move it to the center of the tiger or kind of this axis. And then you click outside, you start dragging, and then add Option that allows you to make a copy, and add Shift that allows you to reflect it precisely, then release the mouse and then release the keys. So now, how do I join all these shapes? We have learned now that I can select, hold the Shift key and select, hold the Shift key and select, and on, so that all my shapes are selected. Then I'm going to go under Window, Pathfinder. Everything in Adobe products that you cannot find on your palettes is under Windows. It means this is where all your tools are available. So whenever you need to find something, remember to look under Window. When you go into the Pathfinder, this is a fabulous tool because it allows you to make union, make subtraction, intersection of shapes. So let's go and click on union and see what happens. That's pretty cool. And that's very cool because the alternative is to do it by cutting and joining path. That is a lot more work. And lastly, to finish the drawing, you would create a simple ellipse. Now you switch to the black arrow by hitting V. And remember, if you click and drag and hold Option and Shift, you're making a copy and dragging it to the other side. And then you can use the line tool to create the nose. Oops, sorry. I need to click and drag instead of just clicking. That is what I accidentally did. Remember, sometimes you have to get out and go and get back in, or sometimes the line tool makes kind of weird stuff happen. I'm using the Shift key because the Shift key will constrain the line to stay perfectly perpendicular, like you can see, or parallel to what I wanted to my canvas. And then lastly, you can do this triangle again like you did the ear, or you obviously can do it with a pencil. It's up to you. Let's do it the same way we did the ear. Polygon tool. I can even make the same exact one and then scale it down a whole lot. Rotate it. Hold the Shift key so everything is pretty good. Hold V, move it into shape, and then again scale it to fit my tiger. So you can see that is pretty beautifully simple. And there we are, our first drawing in Illustrator. That's pretty exciting.